All right. Without further ado, spawning. In the bottom left, in the yellow, playing for the Freakin' Freaks team. Give it up. It is Keen. Spawning in the top right, in the blue, the Protoss from Alpha X. It is Astrea. Alright, TVP is for our enjoyment for the day. Keen, gonna be going across with his SAV, looking to get a little bit of search going on in the base of Astrea. We'll see if maybe he goes into some proxies. Now, I was looking at some statistics for these two players. I wanted to see, you know, kind of if they had faced before, and just kind of where their records were. Well, looking online, only came across one match, and that was back in 2019, so I don't know how accurate it would be in this situation. In that series, it was Keen taking the cake against Astrea 2-0. So it was a best of 3. But again, it's been a few years, so I'm interested to see how things kind of transpire in this series. Now, Keen going for the Tech Lab onto the barracks. Didn't actually make any units yet. Very interesting. So are we going to see a Marauder play coming out here from Keen to spice things up? Gateway, Cybernetics Core, and Expansion coming out from Astrea. Keen, of course, going to be going into that CC behind all of this. And it is going to be Marauders. Got that concussive shell upgrade being researched. And eventually we'll be going into the depot behind this. Now, Astrea doesn't really know what's going on, just knows that there is an expansion on the way. It has an attempt on the way. Does have that warp gate tech being researched as well behind all of this, but you do gotta kind of wonder what Astrea might be thinking once he sees those Marauders coming in here. Now behind this, Astrea gonna be going into that Twilight Council, send it across the Adept, looking to put on some pressure. Behind this stem is going to be a research. It's actually only going to be one Marauder. Very interesting. Going to go open up into a few Marines behind this. Stem, of course, is on the way. The Adept looking to get some damage, but of course, that Marauder going to start hitting, slowing it down. Actually finishes the Shade. Very interesting. From Astrea, looking to kind of get a handle on this. Eventually will lose the... Oh, almost loses it. Actually is able to make it out. Barely alive behind this. We do have a Blink on the way. Of course, we got a couple of Stalkers coming out for Astrea. Keen going to be going into a triple racks opening. Got +1 on the way, so looking to get very aggressive here very soon. The Marauder looking to go across, or just kind of putting on a little bit of scouting, I guess. Going back and forth with that Marauder. Of course, getting stim, more Marines, and eventually getting that reactor as well. So very, very interesting indeed. Looks like Astrea going to be going into a third base behind all of this. Opening up into a robotics facility, so we'll be able to get into those observers. Eventually into a warp prism, and then from there maybe go into immortals, go into maybe go into some Colossus tech, into disruptors. We'll definitely see. I think a lot of Astrea's play kind of mimics some of Zest's play of the Blink Soccer openings, and kind of, you know, going back and forth on those. So we'll see. He definitely has his own little take on it for sure, but we'll see how much that plays into it. So, does look like Keen gonna slowly start pushing across the map with this small force of units, and it looks like he might go up towards the top. Oh no, the Stalkers. With Blink done, we'll actually catch this army. Keen gonna back up for the time being. And both players really don't want to get rid of their high ground advantage here. Oh, actually not even attacking, so Astrea getting a few pot shots off onto the army. Stim finally going to be released. Now, keep in mind that Keen does not have a starport out yet, does not have medevacs, so each little stim that Astrea is able to kind of poke and prod out does make it a little bit easier here for Astrea to take in an engagement later on. The more stims used and more damage done does favor Astrea here. Now Astrea is going into Colossus tech behind this, which I think is going to be really good. I mean, you look at the army here for for Keen, and it is very marine heavy. Marines don't do the best against this Colossus, and if you can get enough out, it's going to be more than okay. Now sentries are out for Astrea. Going to be warping in once again that Colossus. Going to throw down a few more gateways, getting extended thermal lance and getting everything set up. Keen going into a third base behind this. Wants to get a couple of scans out, just kind of see where the observers are at. Does clean those up, and we do have eventually some medevacs coming out for Keen. Now, this looks like Keen wants to start pushing across. Once again, Astrea, though, just going to be sitting at home. Has a few zealots, got charge on the way, getting his second Colossus, getting that +1, and just kind of building up into tech. I mean, he's throwing it down. There's 4 gates. Going to try to bring it up to what? A total of 8 gates altogether. Eventually kind of go from there. He's got stalkers, he's got the zealots, sentries building up energy for force fields, guardian shield, all of that good stuff. And Astrea gonna throw down a couple of scouting pylons and just going to allow him to be a little bit more, not necessarily aggressive, but if he wants to, you know, just kind of see any drops coming, as well as, you know, maybe warp in some zealots or something behind. Now, the zealot does come out here for Astrea, does see the army, and we are going to see a drop going into the main base, but Astrea already there with some stalkers, looking to pounce on this, but Keen, keeping a good eye on things. We'll go ahead and back off. Let's get a scan, sees that there are, in fact, Colossus, a lot of zealots, and those sentries. +2 on the way now for Astrea. Pylon going to be taken out, and it does look like Keen, is this going to keep his drop towards the north? Eventually going to go in and try to get some damage. Oh, he moves just in the nick of time. Scan does go down. Eventually going to drop into the main base, putting on some pressure at the same time. Looking like he's going to drop onto the third base and still has another pressure down towards the natural as well. Zealot's going to try to get on top of this. Widowmine's going to go off onto the Zealots. At the same time, eventually this drop in the main does get cleaned off. Now, another attack going off into the main, or excuse me, into the natural. Put on some pressure, does in fact get a little bit of damage and backs up, but Zealots will at least be able to kind of ward this away. 5, 6, 8 probes. A lot of damage getting done here now for Keen. Behind this, going to be going into Ghost Academy, getting that armory to be able to start +2, and it just picks up, backs up, and for the most part, it's looking really good for Keen. I mean, he hasn't really lost a whole lot compared to kind of what Astrea has lost in these engagements. He's got that third base. I think eventually he'll go into a fourth, but he does at least have Ghosts on the way. Looks like a nice little counterattack going across. Not the best engagement there. Guardian Shield's going to go down. Zealots trying to crash in on this. Another huge Widowmine shot. Going to go off. Kills off 6 SCVs, which is okay. Even gets himself a supply depot. But he doesn't really have any vision with this. So just going to send across a single Zealot to try to, you know... Again, gets hit. Another scan goes off for Keen. And Astrea just taking a lot of damage from these like kind of loose Widowmine shots. And the big thing with this is, again, he doesn't have detection with this army. So not able to pick up the mines. Of course, Keen does have mines all over the place. The minefield's starting to build up. He's also got those ghosts ready in position. Even has the missile turrets to kind of slow some of this down, and you do got to kind of be worried for Astrea. Doing a pretty good job here, actually doing a fantastic job of baiting out some of those Widowmine shots with the hallucinated Phoenix. Now, Vikings looking to get their hands on some of the Colossus. Stalker's going to blink forward and start trying to pick away at those. Does end up losing one Colossus behind this Warp Prism on the way. +3 for Astrea. Keen, of course, going into +2 weapons. It's a nice kind of like little update of where all the mines are. Does indeed back up. Now behind this, he has taken that 4th base. Astrea just kind of building up more stuff. Got the forge, got another robo on the way. And he's got to be careful. Zealot's going to get blinked back down. It definitely looks like Keen ready to push and attack. Has the Observer speed on the way. Some more Zealots do come in here. Now this is going to be kind of a crucial spot for Astrea. See, this is very Zealot heavy. Going to get on top of the Marines here. Widowmine shots going off everywhere. Eventually kind of goes on top of Keen's army. Additional Warpins going to be coming in here, blinking it back. You see Astrea slowly starting to fall down. Colossus in the back trying to deal some damage, but the EMPs were pretty good, all things considered. Going to be able to clean this up, and Astrea in some trouble. Going to be losing this 3rd base location. Some additional Warpins going to be going in, but GG's. And we see Keen taking game number 1 here. Alrighty, without further ado, spawning at the top left in the yellow. Playing for the Afrika Freaks, give it up, it is Keen. Spawning in the bottom left in the blue from Alpha X, the Protoss, known as Astrea. Alrighty, so game number 2. Romanticide's definitely an interesting map. There are some nice little advantages, some different pathways that a Protoss can take. Obviously, there is a nice little open airspace on the side of the map of the main bases that Warp Prisms could definitely play a key part. We could also see some cheeky Stargate play, as the 3rd base is a perfect candidate for some shield batteries and Stargates, but we will see where these players want to go. Keen opening up a a barracks in his main. So not going to be doing any 2 racks play or anything crazy like that. I do gotta say, I really like the opening from Keen in that last game. Opening up with the Marauder Concussive Shell, and then eventually going into that kind of 3 racks. Really allowed him to transition into the mid game with a strong army, and then eventually getting his 3rd base to kind of get that economy behind it. It's just a little bit different. We don't see that a lot from Terrans. A lot of times it's just going to be like a Reaper into a Marine into like a Widow Mine drop, essentially. Astrea going into the main base of Keen's. Just wants to get a good scout, make sure that he's not getting proxy, nothing too crazy going on. And this time, we do see the factory coming down for Keen, so looking to go more into that kind of 1-1-1 situation. Eventually, we should see him go into an expansion. But actually choosing to go into a reactor first, so maybe we will see like a Hellion drop or even a mine drop coming out from Keen. We will just have to wait and see. The Reaper, though, for Keen going across the map, looking to put on some pressure. Expansion does come down, and this time Astrea going into Stargate. Now, he has not seen this just yet, so he does not know of the Stargate tech yet. The Adept looking to try to push the buttons, but unfortunately is not going to be able to, and now he knows of the Stargate. Astrea with that Adept, though, just going to go ahead and sit back. Doesn't look like he's going to pursue it too much, and the Probe just wants to double check, see, you know, if anything is being changed, anything being adapted. There's going to be some Marine openings, though. So already some interesting tech. We've got the factory with the tech lab coming through. Starport is coming down. Do we actually see Keen go into maybe some Banshee play? Looks like he's going to go into a Cyclone, so not going to be doing that, and opening up in a Viking, and I think that's kind of the best that you could in this situation. Now, Astrea is not really using the Stargate as a aggressive build at the beginning. Is just going to be making some Phoenix, maybe go in and get a couple of probe kills, or excuse me, SCV kills if he can, but until he can get to a higher number, maybe like 5 or 6 Phoenix, not gonna be able to do too much. I mean, maybe pick up the Cyclone, but that's gonna be about it. Alrighty. Just getting that natural up and running. Behind this is still more Cyclones, Vikings, and Marines on his side. And the side of Astrea going into more gateways, getting the Robo up and getting observers coming through. Warp Gate Tech finishing up and will allow the Warpins to commence. Now, Astrea still going into this Phoenix play is currently at 3, going up to a 4th. And we'll see if Astrea keeps up with the Stargate tech. I mean, definitely could transition into maybe some Void Ray-esque play. Even go up into carriers eventually. It's going to be an Immortal, though, coming out from Astrea, taking a 3rd base behind this. And Keen will see this, in fact, with the Reaper. Phoenix, though, just going to shut it down before it can actually kill the probe. Observer looking around, looking to see kind of what the tech is looking like for Keen. Does in fact see the 3rd base on the way. Sees the Cyclones and the Vikings, so kind of has an idea of what is to come. Does he actually see this though? Okay, he does see this coming across, so should be prepared. 5 Adepts and Immortal, 2 more Adepts being warped in, and even a couple of Phoenix. I don't know, this army coming across for Keen is looking pretty scary. There's only a handful of Vikings though, so as long as the Phoenix can pick up the Cyclones, he shouldn't have too much problem. Guardian Shield does go down, picks up and takes out one of the Cyclones pretty easily, in fact. We'll let that energy kind of warp out here for Sentries. And now just going to kind of start poking away. Actually, pretty perfect here. Adepts going to be getting on top of the Marines. Phoenix is looking to get some damage done as well. Picking up the Cyclones, making sure that they cannot shoot the Vikings. Looking to shut down the Phoenix, but just not enough. And eventually does get picked off. And we do see Keen now kind of in a tough situation. Past the tanks, going to go into a bunker and trying to kind of just shut things down as much as possible. There is a missile turret on the way. Tank on the high ground, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. Going to pick up the tank, looking to get some damage done. There is another tank up at the top. The healing, though, getting done for Keen. Able to keep it up. Eventually does end up killing off the tank. A lot of the SCVs starting to fall. 12 SCVs in total. Eventually, all of those Adepts do end up falling as well. The Phoenix still alive, trying to get out of range of that missile turret, but looks like he will eventually be able to take care of the siege tank as well. And Keen in some trouble. 18 SCVs in total have been taken out. The Sentry's still alive and a couple of Phoenix. Does look like another Phoenix going to join into this. Finally, +1 on the way for the Protoss. Keen does have Stim finally started here at 7 minutes. And just going to continue to kind of poke and prod. A 4th base behind this for Astrea. And this is actually a pretty good position for Astrea. And he's got that 4th base coming through. He's getting his upgrades, going into Colossus Tech. The Stim and Combat Shield's just so delayed due to kind of how Keen opened up. I mean, really just trying to react to the Phoenix play. Now, he does have that 3rd base, which he could eventually land and try to kind of even things out here, but even looking at the worker supply, 73 workers, 74 now to 42. You definitely got to be worried for the Terra. Now, he's going to be going into mines. He's got +1 coming through, adding on those additional barracks. So will eventually be able to, excuse me, build up another force. We look at Astrea going into 8 more gates, throwing down the Templar Archives, extended thermal lance, charge, getting all of those upgrades. And it's gonna get scary here for Keen. I mean, he has to kind of go across, maybe get a little bit of damage done, but also he doesn't have a lot of army. And the fact is now Astrea is taking a 5th base, Those Phoenix make it hard to do any kind of drops from Keen. And Keen is one of those players that likes to do those multi-prong attacks, likes to do drops, and this is just not looking good for Keen. Now, he is making his way back. His army-wise is looking pretty good comparatively to what Astrea has. But as the game goes on, the more tech Astrea gets, the tougher it becomes. Looks like Keen eventually going to be going into Ghost Academy, knowing that there is a possibility for Storm, for, you know, just a lot of Zealots. See? Right. Keen going into more and more of those Widow Mines, getting Marauders, getting +1, finishing up. Definitely looking very scary. Now, I love that the Phoenix is still getting damage done, still just kind of keeping an eye on Keen, and just kind of keeping him honest, making sure, hey, I want you to know that I am still here, essentially. We do see the probe coming down here, eventually going to get scouted by Keen. And now looks like Keen wants to go down towards the bottom and start putting on some pressure. Has a couple of mines and just a small force of units to try to get some damage done. But with the cannons in place, I don't see much getting done there. We do see the robotics bay chirping away as Extended Thermal Lance has finished up, going to go into that observer speed, which will allow the observers kind of keep up with the army a little bit more, especially knowing Keen is going into that mine heavy-esque army. Against a player like Astrea, I mean, you kind of have to, right? Astrea is definitely a player that loves to go heavy into Zealots. Heavy Stalker plays from time to time. Does have some pretty good Storm capabilities as well. It looks like Keen finally going to be able to start doing a couple of drops here or there. It's not going to be seen, however, from Astrea, so might eventually be able to get some damage done. Scan does go down, sees the army, in fact, for Astrea, looking to go into the natural. A lot of Widow Mines, though, so he needs to be careful. Scan does goes out, takes out the Observer. So a new Observer will need to be taken, of course. Oh, I love this. Keen going around with another drop. Was, I think, trying to go across, but realizing that the army is there. Eventually just going to go in the wraparound. Now, Widow Mines do go off as the Zealots were sacrificed. Looks like a pretty good concave coming out here from Keen. The Zealots are looking to get on top of everything, pounce on everything that they can. The Phoenix trying to shut things down. Unfortunately, the back does not get taken care of, and Astrea, right, spawning in the top right, in the blue, from Alpha X. Give it up. It is Astrea. Spawning in the bottom left, in the red, from a Freak of Freaks, it is Keen. Alrighty, so we saw Astrea going into that Stargate style last game, and it really did end up working out in his favor. I mean, Keen kind of not necessarily overreacted, but he was definitely going for a build that's strong against like Void Ray openers, to see if you're being proxied with them, which isn't a bad thing, but fortunately, Astrea was just able to get enough Phoenix that the Cyclones were kind of rendered useless. The tank didn't get a lot done to the Adepts, and Astrea just pouncing on top of Keen really kind of set the stage into the later parts of the game. Now, game number 3, does Keen do something differently here? Will we see him kind of get aggressive, maybe throw in a few kind of proxies in the series, or do we see him just kind of go for a more standard style play? So it is going to be a Marine first this time, getting the orbital coming through, expansion coming out for Astrea, and eventually I think we do see the expansion coming down, but yeah, does throw it down. Gonna get delayed though. Okay, there we go. Marine coming out. We'll be able to kind of kill off the probe, and eventually that CC will be done. No, it's interesting because the CC is a little off kilter. We'll be able to pick it up and kind of move it over, but it is a little annoying to have to do that, so not going to be game ending or anything too crazy, but just an annoyance more than anything. Factory coming down for Keen behind this, and we will see if he goes into that kind of cyclone opening once again. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he opens up into like a handful of Marines, goes across towards the third base, especially since Astrea has shown he likes to take a quicker third base. And then maybe try to come in with the tank and some pressure there. Public Council on the way for Astrea. Eventually we will see that blink play come into fruition and continue on from there. CC going to be finishing up, and once again we'll see him kind of move that back over, get it centered up and nice, and eventually just be a-okay. Adept coming in for Astrea. Does not complete, it does give a good scout and kind of sees that there is at least some Marines in the front. I think once, actually going to try to hide that as much as possible. I do not think he actually saw the Hellion, so this is actually kind of a good move. Well, he's going to... Oh, he didn't see it either. Oh, this is actually a really good play coming out from Keen. I don't think it's going to get a lot of damage done, but it will at least maybe get a probe kill. Opening up into Raven behind this, throwing in another barracks. And the Adept from Astrea just going to continue to kind of put in some pressure. Now, Cyclone does... Or excuse me, the Hellion makes into the main base. Will kill off... He kills off 2 probes. Nothing too crazy. Does damage them for later on behind this. Blink and a Robo on the way for Astrea. Nothing too crazy, but again, just keeping the pressure. Does in fact complete the shade. Interesting. Now, Keen out with the Raven. Will allow him to see any kind of observer play. But the first observer, goodness, tongue-tied, will be coming out here very soon. Astrea going to come across the map now with a handful of Sockers, looking to put on some pressure. But with the amount of Marines and a bunker now, I don't see him getting much done. Let's have Stim on the way. But a lot of this from Astrea is just kind of keeping Keen at home to allow him to kind of tech up, right? He's got Charge on the way. He's got Templar Archives to get Storm. Already has that blink play done. And we do, in fact, see Keen going with the Stim. He's got Combat Shields +1. Both players just trying to get those upgrades. Third base being taken for Astrea behind all of this. And looks like we're going to have a quick pause here. Looks like Astrea having a little bit of lag. So give it just a minute here as we wait for Astrea to be a-okay. Definitely having to play on the Korean server makes it a little bit tough.
Game
there we go. Looks like game ready to go. We'll go ahead and jump back into it. There we go. Alrighty, so once again, interested to see if King does take a third base. Now, he's been going very heavy into mines. I almost wonder if Astrea counters something with this. Now, Raven goes across, throws down a turret, does actually pick off 5-6 probes. A nice pickoff here for Keen. And the Raven just going to hang back, another drop, looking to go across the map. And, you know, for the price of just a few energy units, that's not a bad pickoff. Did he actually see the... Yeah, I think he saw the Templar Archive. Storm is going to be finished up, and that does make it a little bit tougher for Keenness. He's going to go ahead and drop down. There are a handful of High Templar going to Storm. And, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of energy, though. That's a big thing right now. Overcharge just gets activated as it looks like Keen ready to push across with the rest of his army. Yeah, I think he just needs to back up, unfortunately. This does make it a little bit tougher for Keen. Now, eventually he will go into the Ghost Academy and try to go that way. I love it, though. Gonna go ahead and drop into the main base with a small force. There is a High Templar. Oh, no. Okay, gonna go for the Templar Archives. Looking to shut down some of the Archons. Does, in fact, kill that off. High Templar no longer going to be an issue for the moment. Trying to kill off whatever units he can. Eventually we'll pick up and move out at the same time. A nice little attack. Going across towards the third base. Gets cleaned up pretty easily, though. We will see Keen back up indeed. Now, behind this, a new forge going down. Doesn't look like he's going to be remaking a Templar Archives just yet. So that does give a little bit of an opportunity here for Keen. Going to throw down the Raven turret once again. Gets another few kills. And this time, Keen in a lot better position. Going to go into another drop. As we start Keen playing his game. Going to drop right on top of this. Kind of interesting. Storms do go down on top of the army. Woodamine's going to be able to make their hits. Just ends up killing everything, though. Well, he's still got a couple units left. Same time, another drop going towards the third base here for Keen. As Astrea just trying to get his upgrades, having to rebuild that Templar Archives. He's only got one High Templar, so Storm's not going to be very prevalent here in fear for Keen. Does throw, in fact, those Widowmines down. And Astrea starting to kind of get a little bit pulled apart. We'll go ahead and blink forward. Ends up taking the blunt of those Widowmine shots. Does, in fact, clean it up, but another 5 probes do get taken out. And eventually we see that drop coming back out for Keen. Now, behind this, he's just going to be going into Liberators. He's going into more of those barrack plays. He's got the... Okay. Gonna finally go into Ghost. Just now lands the third base. And Astrea does actually see the third base there, so... Does get very interesting. We do actually have those Liberators going across to the main to try to put on some damage. Astrea just going back and forth, waiting for Keen to come back in with that Raven to deal more damage, to try to shut that down. High Templar are finally going to be back on the menu for Astrea, and we actually see Keen looking to push up towards that third base once again. Liberator looking to get some damage done, but obviously the Stalkers are going to be in place. Not really going to get any damage done with them, unfortunately. And now Keen's kind of in a position where he's trying to find some kind of damage, or at least find where to attack at, right? Ooh. Alrighty, so Zealot's looking to get on top of this. Does end up backing up as he sees the mines burrowing. May try to blink forward with this, but that would be a bad position. +2 on the way for both sides. Does look like a nice little attack. Went across a little bit of a run by. Kills off 7 SCVs, Marines, and Marauders. Just trying to go around wherever they can. Zealots going to be able to get on top of other Widowmines before they really have a chance to go off. Ghost finally there, and it looks like now Keen going to start pushing into this. A beautiful EMP going to go off on the blunt of the army, but those storms are just way too deadly. And yeah, there's not a whole lot of anti-air. So Astrea just going to pick up those High Templar, and eventually we'll be able to kind of clear this out and clear things up against what Keen has. Now Keen does back up with his remaining units. And, I mean, he still has a pretty good force at home. Going to drop into the main with some turrets. Yeah, gets another couple of kills. Behind this now, more Zealots, more High Templar. +2 about finished up for Astrea as he's looking to push across. Once again, keeping those High Templar alive going to be so crucial for Astrea. I almost wonder if he goes into the main base behind this and just starts trying to storm the SCVs. Astrea just backing up though. +2 will finish up. Going to throw down a 5th base, or 4th base, excuse me. And yeah, it does get a storm out. Actually kills off 10 SCVs, picks up Looks to go into the main base. Has to be careful, though, as there are Vikings. But it looks like he should be able to make it out just in time and keep those High Templar alive. Looks like he's only lost one out of those four. So not a bad pickup at all. And now Keen looking to go across the map one more time. Just a small force here for Astrea. Let's get a scan out and we'll kind of back up. EMPs go off onto the High Templar. Actually shutting those down pretty handedly. There we go. Now going to go towards the third base once again. High Templar is behind this. Doesn't have the energy though, which really is kind of the suffer for Astrea. Widowmine's going to go off, going to clear up these Zealots, and definitely Astrea in some trouble now. The fourth base going to go down as Astrea just going to continue to pull the army into the Widowmine spots. Now you just have to be careful. A lot of the army here for Keen is starting to get low, but we're starting to see Keen basically just start parade pushing at this point. He is up 95 to 78 supply. Widowmine shot's going to go out once again, carrying out a good chunk of the army. Gets the fourth base. And yeah, this army from Astrea definitely damaged 93 to 64 army supply. EMPs go off on the entire army of Astrea. And Keen looking for a final push here. Widowmine shots going to go down. Another EMP does go through. Same time, the Raven was going down towards the bottom. Yeah, I mean, this is just not looking good for Astrea. 80 supply to 148. Eventually go up to 92 here with some additional weapons. Overcharge does get activated. The Marines coming in here. Eventually there is going to be a Colossus extended thermal lance on the way, but they're just going to get focused down before they can really get the damage done. And I think for the time being, maybe Astrea could hold it off, but in fact, GG's. And we will see Keen take game number 3. Alrighty, guys, without further ado, spawning in the top left, in the blue, from Alpha X, give it up for Astrea. And in the bottom right, from Afrika Freaks, the Terran, is Keen. Right, so game number 4. I mean, we've seen Astrea going into this kind of blink opening each time. Keen's been doing a really good job of changing up the builds each time. He's, you know, hasn't really opened the same each time. We saw him going into the Hellion, getting some good scouting information, actually able to see the archives pretty early on with the Raven harass. And Astrea just didn't seem like he could get a grasp of the attack. Now we do see Astrea coming in with the probe here in game number 4. And looking to continue to put on some scouting information. Maybe try to deny... Yeah, I can't talk. Try to deny the barracks from finishing up, or at least deny the CC from coming down pretty early. It's going to be a Marine opening once again from Keen. And we have that Cybernetics core coming down and going into an expansion for Astrea. So finally Keen gonna throw down the CC Marine, gonna be coming out. Gonna be a reactor, so we will see those Marines coming out once again. I would not be surprised if we see the same kind of build coming out from Keen here in game number 4. I think going into the Hellions and just getting in, maybe getting a couple of kills and stuff like that would be really nice, but we'll see. It's going to be an Adept opening from Astrea. We'll see from here kind of where they want to go. Now, I'm definitely thinking Astrea is going to go into that Blink style play once again, as he's going to be going into Twilight Council. I almost wonder if Astrea needs to open up more heavier into Stalkers. If he's going to go into this Blink play, we've seen him only make like a handful of Stalkers and then just transition into Charge. And just go like really crazy into the Zealot play. And Keen really has kind of grasped a hold of this. He's going heavy into the Widow Mines, spreading them out just enough to kind of shut things down. And Astrea, once again, not really like spreading out his zealots, so a lot of them are just getting completely annihilated. The engagements just have kind of been crazy, right? So Blink is finally on the way. We do have an additional gateway coming down for Astrea. Keen finally getting that CC up and running. And now we just see Astrea continue to kind of shade in. Just get some scouting information, see if he can actually get into the main base. But Keen keeping on top of things. Bunker is down, so Astrea really cannot even get in at this point. Interesting. Alrighty, behind this we do have the robotics facility. Eventually we should see some observers come in. And behind this, just keep tabs on what Keen wants to do. Now, Keen is going very heavy into Marines. He's got stim and combat shields on the way, +1 coming through as well. Opening up into a missile turret just to make sure that nothing else crazy comes on. And once again, delaying the factory play, just going very heavy into Marines. I kind of like it. Blink is going to be finished up, and eventually we will see an observer coming through. Astrea taking a third base behind this. We'll see. I mean, does he just push out with a bunch of Marines here, though? Does he expect, I guess, maybe a Stargate style? Interesting. Alrighty, so Stim about finished up. We do have Marauders being added in. Finally, a factory is almost done. And eventually going to be going up into more behind this. Additional gateways and a robotics bay coming out from Astrea. Eventually looking to go into that Colossus tech that we've seen Astrea kind of go into time and time again. It's got Charge on the way. Forge going down. And that third base about finished up. So it would not surprise me for a push here, and it looks like that is going to be the case. Getting all the Marines pushed together, and we'll start pushing across. Astrea does not actually see this yet. Oh my god, he's going right in between this. Okay, so he does not know. Blink is done. We do actually see Astrea trying to clear up some of the reinforcements here. Going to get on top of a couple of the Marauders. And essentially just keep Keen preoccupied while he gets out his first Colossus. Chronoing it out as quickly as possible. And this is a pretty heavy stalker count. We do see the Marines coming up here. No stim being used as of yet. Concussive shells is now done. And finally we will see that stim coming through. Going to focus down onto the robotics facility. Does actually kill it off before the Colossus can come out, shutting down some of the production. Some additional weapons of Stalkers coming through here, and Keen starting to push into the main base. Once again, the Stalkers trying to get on top of everything, warping in a couple of Zealots to try to help deal with this. But Charge is not done yet, so not going to be able to get on top of it. So far, 11 probes have been taken out. Eventually, this does get cleaned up, but the damage has been done. Astrea thankfully has a third base to kind of fall back onto, but now with Medevacs out, it looks like Keen just going to continue on with the pressure here as a new robotics facility going to be made. He still does have that robotics bay done. He doesn't have a Colossus tech really coming through at the moment. Going to throw in a few sentries, +1 on the way. There we go. Finally getting that extended thermal lance. Gets a scan out, sees the third base, but looks like, Keen going to be dropping into the main base. Another little drop going down towards the bottom. The Adept coming over for Astrea, trying to see, has there been a third base taken? Where is the situation from Keen? But of course, it is going to be a 2-base play. Unfortunately, Astrea going to miss a drop. Is going to be coming in to the main base. Additional gateways coming down for the Protoss. Astrea in some trouble. Gonna get the robotics facility, shutting down the upgrades. Drop gonna come down here. Astrea not paying attention. 15 probes altogether have ended up falling. And Keen just all over the place. Eventually this will get... Well, I say it's going to get cleaned up here, but I think he just picks up and moves out. He's done the damage. He shut down the tech. And Astrea in some trouble now as Keen just going to start this rampage of drops. New robotics facility on the way. Got that +1 about finished up for Astrea. Keen, though, with +1 shields. He's got the armory on the way, going into Widow Mines once again. And he is looking to continue the aggression. Keen joining forces down here at the bottom of the natural. The third base location where it's normally at. And the Colossus Tech finally on its way once again, but Keen looking to push in. Once again, another drop does go down into the natural at the same time. Eventually, not bad. I like it. Force field does go down, kind of separating the army out. The Zealots able to get on top of it. There's still some army left. Eventually just gets picked up, moved back. Ooh, very nice pickoff here from Astrea, though. Getting one of those medevacs full of units. And this medevac from Keen with the mines in it, still just finding value. +2 on the way for Keen behind this. +2 on the way for Astrea. It looks like Ghost Academy going to be coming through for Keen as well. And Keen just going to continue on to this aggression. Does see the Colossus Tech. Just going to try to get on top of it. There's no detection with the army, so the mines going to get some damage down. Focusing down the Colossus, trying to spread out as best as possible. Does get the sentries. Eventually we'll be able to pick up and move back. Yeah, not bad. It gets an additional 13 probes down here at the bottom. GG's, and Keen takes game number 4, extending his lead 3-1. All right, again, so without further ado, spawning in the bottom left in the blue. Here on Juggernaut from Alpha X, it is Astrea. Spawning in the top right in the red from Africa Freaks. Give it up. It is the Terran. Keen. Alrighty, so game number 5. It's crazy we're already in game number 5, but you know what? It's been some good games back and forth. But again, Keen has been on a tear the last couple of maps. He's going to throw down the barracks in a proxy location. And I like this. Astrea's going to come across with the probe. And will not actually scout this. Where is he going? Is he going to go? Okay, he's going to go into the main. So yeah, if you're Astrea, you already know you're down by 2 games. Keen, for all intensive purposes, words are hard. Could go for a proxy now. Astrea's going to see this. He's going, okay, there's going to be some kind of proxy somewhere. Instantly should throw down the Cybernetics core here to kind of block this off. And we'll see how well he overreacts to this, if he does at all. Now, probe looking around, just going to try to kind of gauge where everything is at, and actually sees the second refinery. So Keen is definitely selling this very hard. He's going to throw the factory down at the bottom as well. So he really is like selling that this is going to be a double Rax Reaper. Craziness. Nexus is on its way though for Astrea. He's going to take an expansion behind this. Does have the Adept on the way. You know what? So far, Astrea not really overreacting. There hasn't been any pushes or anything like that coming across. Did he not even make... Okay. It is in the main. Okay. There we go. So it is going to be Widow Mine coming through for Keen. Astrea doing a pretty good job of making sure he doesn't overreact. He does have a sentry on the way. It's going to allow him to get into the Hallucinated Phoenix play. See from here where everything ends up going. Now, Sentry is going to be coming out. Of course, the Reaper for Keen just going to poke in and out. Can't really get too much done, and we will, in fact, see Keen opening up into a Widow Mine drop. He does have the barracks done with the reactor, getting those Marines. Is going to get a medevac and finally takes an expansion behind all of this. Robotics facility on the way for Astrea once again. Has the shield batteries, throwing down additional gateways, going up to 3 gates. And I think eventually, well, he has got into Twilight. So no blink as of yet, but could definitely go into some stalkers, depending on how he wants to play that out. There we go. Bunker going to be coming down for Keen behind all this. Blue State Phoenix will in fact see the drop coming, so that makes it a little bit easier for him to have to deal with. At least he knows it's on its way. We should see a couple of stalkers getting warped in. Let's see. The Reaper's still kind of hiding out in a weird location. You actually see the Observer about to pop out. 3 stalkers getting warped in. And just trying to put on the pressure. Actually looks like he gets the medevac. Oh, a huge play there. Sacrifices the Adept, but will in fact clean up the mess. And this is actually looking pretty good for Astrea right now. Does have a second Observer on the way. We'll be able to kind of start pushing across. But looks like Keen gonna go for another mine drop here. Stim on the way now for Keen behind all this, and just gonna start adding on more barracks. We do see a 3rd base on the way for Astrea behind all of this. Keen, yeah, I mean he's gonna go for another drop. We'll see if he can actually get anything done, especially since a lot of the units for Astrea. I was gonna say they're in his base here, but okay, they're there. Oh. Well, not a bad. Does get 2 Widow Mines. Eventually we'll be able to clean those up pretty easily. Not bad. Medevac makes it out, and we'll see another drop. So Keen's just going to continue on with these medevac drops. Astrea does have the Observer, so we'll be able to kind of see everything coming to fruition, as it looks like Keen's just going to continue on with these drops. I guess trying to force Astrea to make a bad play and get some damage done. But he's going pretty heavy into the Stalkers. He's got the Forge, finally getting that Twilight Council, and eventually we'll be able to start getting Blink. Going to pounce on these a little bit more. Yeah, Stalkers are already in position. Another drop looking to go across. Just going to shut this down. And Keen in a little bit of trouble. Does get a scan off. Does not see the Observer, though. Okay. Well, he was able to kill off the Observer anyways. Doesn't see it anymore. And it looks like he's going to go for another drop down here towards the bottom. 3rd base is done. And already Astrea in some position. Has the sentries down. Eventually we see the Colossus tech coming through. And Astrea in a pretty solid defensive position at the moment. I mean, he's got Stalkers in position. We'll be able to get on top of the medevac pretty easily. And eventually we'll see the medevac die. Let's be careful here, though. This nice little kind of back and forth coming out here from Keen. Eventually we'll be able to pick off 4 probes. So slowly trying to chip away here at Astrea's army. But Astrea going up to the 2nd Colossus, has charge on the way, extended thermal lance, +1. Keen is now finally kind of switching around. Gonna get some more medevacs. He's building up his Marine Marauder force. And I think he might be done with the Widowmine drops. Instead now going to go into some full-on medevac, fully units drops. Behind this, 4 more gateways and a Warp Prism coming through for Astrea. This is going to allow him to start kind of putting on some more pressure across the map, right? At the moment, Astrea is just playing defensively. He's not really looking to extend or go too crazy while he builds up his forces at home. He's going into that Templar Archives, be able to start getting Storm, be able to start kind of putting on some more pressure in that regard. But it looks like now Keen going to go into a nice little push. Astrea will be able to actually see this. Zealot's going to be in position. See the Templar Archives coming in here, and now it looks like Keen is going to actually push across with this attack. Not only with the drops and stuff, as a 4th base looking to be on the way. And yeah, I mean, Stim is going to go down. Blink on the way, +2 on the way. Annex and Thermalance almost finished up. Actually, Keen going to join everything back together here, but just got a couple of Zealots. Third base finally being built for Keen behind this. We do see that Warp Prism looking to go into the main base of Keen. At the same time, Keen pushing across to the natural. We'll see if he can get some damage done. The Zealots going to get on top of the SCV. It's going to warp in a huge amount of Zealots. At the same time, we do see Keen still pushing across. Does have a couple of mines to deal with this, but Astrea actually pushing things apart. Not dealing too much damage to his Zealots. Now, the big problem is Astrea really doesn't have anything at home to help defend against this. He's got the Guardian Shields down, but Keen just going to focus down the Nexus. Guardian Shield goes down once again as Keen just looking to go into the main base, taking out 22 probes in his wake. Eventually going to be able to clean up the Colossus, clean up the Stalkers. And even though the Zealots were getting some damage done in the main base, just gets completely cleaned up. And now Keen just going to continue to push in towards the third base, shut down this third base as well. Shuts down the warp ends here. Big play. And yeah, you got to be worried here for Astrea. 65 to 120 supply. And yeah, 25 probes down. GG's. And Keen going to go up to match points. Barracks coming down here. And I really feel like Keen's in a position where he doesn't have to play cheeky. He can just play kind of a standard style and be A-okay. And we really have seen Keen kind of start going into the same build again and again against what Astrea is doing. Like, last game was a little bit cheeky. He, you know, tried to kind of sell this proxy style. That it was going to be some kind of big aggression. Astrea coming across with the probe. And it, well, we didn't see Astrea really kind of overreact to it, but he did pretty good. I mean, in all honesty, like, Astrea was doing good shutting down the mine drops, but he just didn't have enough to deal with the coming wakes behind it all. So it is going to be a Marine first, once again coming out from Keen. Comes in with the scout and just kind of sees where everything is at. Command center going to go down for Keen as well behind this. And we are going to see a tech lab this time. Do we see him go into that Marauder play again? We'll see. The Adept going to be chronoed out here for Astrea. Twilight Council, or excuse me, Cybernex Core is done. Looking like that warp gate can be coming through. Once again, it is going to be that Marauder opening. Going to go into the 3 barracks style play as well with that concussive shells. Eventually goes into kind of the heavier Marine style, and it's kind of scary here for Astrea now. Let's have his own expansion. We'll see him go into Twilight Council, so looking to go into that Blink once again as an opening. Yeah, just going to get on top of the Adept. Adept does kill off the SCV, making the expansion, so we'll delay it a little bit. Oh. The Adept so close to dying, but at least kind of knows what Keen is up to. Eventually, we'll complete the expansion and move it over as Keen looks to push across the map with a small force. Additional gateways coming through for Astrea behind this. He does have a Stalker and the Adept. Going to throw down the robotics facility behind it all. And we'll see if Keen can get the damage done here. Or Astrea can defend it. He does have a shield battery, so we'll be able to kind of push this back. Doesn't have to worry too much about it. Behind it, Blink is getting started. Astrea using that the Adept Shade, just kind of confirm that Keen is indeed going back home with that army, so that he can kind of relax from it all. Now Stim is about done. We do have that combat shields on the way as Keen is going more heavier into that kind of Marine style. Behind this, Astrea once again going into that heavier Stalker count with Blink. And eventually just going to continue to push in with this. We'll see where he ends up going, though, behind all of it. So Alrighty. So, more depots coming down for Keen. Eventually just kind of building up his tech. We should see the... He doesn't even have a factory down yet. That is insane. He's just going pure bio at this point. Astrea looking to go across, so he's got a healthy count of stalkers. He's got the War Prism. In fact, sees this and we'll go ahead and back up. Blink finishing up. Combat Shield's about 10 seconds away, and now with blinking, kind of build on top of this. The SEV Pain Train, though, coming across here for Keen. Astrea looking to pick off a few of those SCVs as much as possible. Does kill off 3, but with the blink forward, ends up losing a handful of stalkers. The Marauders pushing it here now with the stim done. And the Marines getting on top of it, shutting down the production here. And Astrea in a lot of trouble. Blinks back with the stalkers as the Immortal not going to be able to get completed. He really doesn't have a whole lot at home. There was 8 SCVs killed off here. But, yeah, Robotics Facility going to go down, trying to rebuild some kind of semblance of an army, but unfortunately not going to be enough. Eventually gets backed up once again. A lot of delayed mining time. 13 SCVs altogether have gone down to the 9 probes. And eventually I think this gets cleaned up. 14 probes. Oh, man. Just more and more attacks coming in here. Astrea falling apart at the seams. He's only able to make 1 stalker. This is just not looking good. Even kills it off, and Astrea just trying to hold on, but more and more of Keen's army going across, and 24 probes end up falling. And yeah, I mean, he can't even warp in anymore, but like 1 stalker at a time. This is just not looking good for Astrea. He's trying his hardest, but it looks like Keen just moments away here from getting the GG. Gets on top of the stalkers. GG's. And Keen takes the series 5-1. GG's.